So you know what I thought? What if I try the books? Because books are great, right? Hello, I'm Jessie, the Sleepy Koala, and welcome. Today I will be going through my April wrap-up and my May TBR. I had my hair in braids before this, and now I feel like the front of it is just all really weird, and I can't stop looking at it in the camera and just thinking about how it looks weird. So I do apologize for my hair like being strange and stuff. Before we get into the video, firstly, thank you for dropping by. Thank you for clicking on this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I would love to talk to you more in the comments down below. And of course, do not forget to hit that notification bell so you can get more content from me going forward. Now, with that self-promotion out of the way, let's get into the video. So April was a bit of an month. I had a very good read, and then I had a lot of sort of okay reads, and then I had 2 DNFs as well, which I just did not want to continue whatsoever. So let's start with those 2 DNFs. They were both audiobooks. The first one is An Offer from a Gentleman, which is the 3rd book in the Bridgerton series. I have been binging Bridgerton, the show. I love it. I think it's so much fun, and it's really, really sucked me in. I remember season 1 sucked me in, and then now season 2, I've got people to talk to about it as well, and it's even better. So I've been really enjoying the show. So you know what I thought? What if I try the books? Because books are great, right? And I just didn't like it. I found the story to be really slow and kind of dull, and then there's some things that need trigger warnings, I think, in this book that the book does not take seriously enough, and that just kind of kills it for me. And that's what really did it. I was listening to it slowly and kind of piecing it together and moving along, and then something happens, and it killed it. It killed the whole book for me. Everything afterwards was just tainted by this one moment in the book and the way the book handled it. And this is not actually the first book in the Bridgerton series to treat serious topics in ways that they shouldn't be treated, and with not as much respect as they should be approached with. But yeah, so I gave up on this book. This is about the 2nd son of the Bridgerton family, Benedict. He meets a girl at a ball who is like a Cinderella type situation, and he instantly knows that he likes her and that he wants to be with her, and then she disappears for several years. And we're also following this girl as well. Her name is Sophie, and we follow Sophie as she goes from being she's effectively Cinderella at the start of the book, and I was not expecting that. And I do have some questions about why certain things happened when they'd never happened before, and who thought they were good ideas. But let's not digress. But we follow Sophie, who is the stepdaughter of the lady of the house, who treats her like a maid, and things kind of go from there, and Sophie's life gets upended after some events that occur near the beginning of the book. And eventually she meets back up with Benedict Bridgerton, and presumably their romance continued on from where I stopped. But I stopped because I was not liking the book anymore. So I don't recommend this book. I'm sorry to those people who like it. Everyone's allowed different tastes. My taste is not for this book. Speaking of books that were not my taste, The Midnight Library. This is one that I've wanted to read for a while now, and I've kept trying to find it on Audible, except there's some region issues with my account, so I've never been able to download it. So I instead found it as an audiobook through my library instead. And I started listening, and I don't even think halfway through it before I was just bored and depressed. And it didn't give me any of the good feelings that I get from reading books. And that doesn't mean that the book has to be happy and upbeat for me to get these good feelings. You can read a dark, depressing book and still get those feelings of, oh yes, I'm reading a book and it is great and I'm enjoying reading this book. And I did not get any of that reading The Midnight Library. I just felt depressed and kind of bored. things were very, very repetitive. And also, like, it was hard to deal with a lot of the main characters' mental issues, like, throughout the book. And particularly at the beginning, I do think this book has trigger warnings for suicidal ideations, depression, like a lot of really negative thinking that like can affect the reader. Like it was affecting me, even though my depression doesn't tend in that direction, it was still very affecting to me as the reader. And the beginning was quite rough. But then, yeah, afterwards, it was just very, very repetitive. I know that a lot of people have an issue with this book because it has a message and it's not subtle that it's trying to push this message the entire book. And like, I picked up on that as well, even though like I knew going in that the book was like this, but I was trying to like guess what the message was from like all of the different bits and bobs we got throughout the story. But it does push that. I didn't particularly mind that. I don't care that the book had a message it wanted to give and was doing it forcefully. That I didn't really mind. I just didn't like the repetitiveness of what was happening, and it was just a kind of boring book that I put down one day and I didn't pick it back up again. I had no desire to continue to read. So that was the other book that I DNF'd in the month of April, and unfortunately they were both audiobooks as well. Moving on to the books that I actually did read and finish of this month, there are a few of them. The first that we shall talk about is A Touch of Darkness. I really enjoyed this book. I liked the magic. I love the romance between Hades and Persephone, and I really liked their dynamic a lot. I also loved what Hades' character kind of became throughout the story as well, and the depth that we got as it continued along. I've got a reading vlog of this and of Neon Gods. I will link it up there and put a link in the description as well if people would like to take a look. I did thoroughly enjoy this book. I would reread it again. Was it the best book in the world? No, but that's okay. I had a lot of fun with it. A Touch of Darkness follows Persephone, who is a grad student. She does journalism, and one day she is taken by her best friend to a club that is run by Hades, where they happen to meet. And they have some conversations that have some consequences that Persephone was not expecting. And she wakes up the next day to find out that there are some things in her life that have changed and some things that she now has to do. And the book continues on from there. I think I will wrap that one up here. And if you'd like to know more, I highly recommend you go take a look at my other video, which again, I will link in the cards and below in the description. The next book I read is Over Raging Tides, which is one that I have read before and was a reread that I absolutely adored, just as much as the first time I read it. This is a pirate story that follows Grace, who lives and works on the Lady Luck, a pirate ship full of only women who have a bunch of morals and codes, and one of them is they're not allowed to have men on board. So of course, the start of the book is breaking that code and rescuing two brothers who are part of a shipwreck and saving their lives. There is treasure in this. There is pirate chase of trying to get to the treasure. There is some cool world building elements that also get built in, and Grace's past is very involved in how this entire story progresses and I assume will continue. Grace is a really fun, lovable character. She has the swagger of a pirate, but with the fury of a woman who has to deal with prejudice and sexism on the high seas. There is also other fantastic characters. Leo, one of the men who is rescued, he is also pretty great. I love the banter and the chemistry between Grace and Leo. And I absolutely adore Sam, the best friend, who is just like right up there as one of the best friends, I think, in books. The one criticism I do have is that the second brother, John, serves absolutely no purpose in this book whatsoever, except to be a name on a page. I don't think we see him after he is rescued, and he certainly does not do anything in this book. I am hoping this changes going forward and we get more of John and we get to see a bit more of the dynamic between the brothers. We got to see the brotherly dynamic, see how Leo is all protective of John, but we will have to wait and see until the next book. Next book I read was a giant disappointment to me, which is really sad because I thought it was going to be a 5-star read, A Darker Shade of Magic. I didn't dislike the book. I was just highly disappointed in the book. I did A Darker Shade of Magic as a buddy read with Chatty the Mad Chatter and Sylvan Princess on Discord, and we had a lot of fun with it. It was really nice, and this is my first buddy read, guys. This is my first one, and it was just lots of fun, and I really enjoyed chatting with other people about the book and just like having somewhere where I could centralize my thoughts and like talk to other people. So I thoroughly enjoyed that buddy read, and I really want to do more going forward. I had a bunch of problems with some of the things that were happening, whether they be plot or character, and overall it was just average. Like, there was nothing special really about this story, which I was really hoping would be up there as a 5-star read for me. This follows Kel, who is a magician who can travel between different worlds, and in each world there is a different London. So he travels to Red London, White London, and Grey London, and then you have the mysterious Black London, and you get to have all of the mystery and the lore surrounding Black London in this book. One day he gets into a bit of trouble, runs into a thief named Lila, who is then his companion for the rest of the book. There is some chemistry between Lila and Kel. I don't hate it. I just am not super into it either. So I'm hoping that the second book like really kind of, if it's gonna go in that direction, like commit to it and give us all of the like romantic tension that is always so good in book. I did find Lila to be a character that was kind of edgy for the sake of it, and it was very YA. And I don't know if this book is meant to be adult or YA. For some reason, I had it in my mind that this was meant to be an adult book, and definitely it's got some swearing in it, and there's some more adult-themed scenes in it as well. But my God, does this book read YA to me. And Lila as a character, like, really embodied that YA dark and edgy female character. There was a scene in this where there is an attempted rape against Lila, which I think was an entirely unnecessary scene that added nothing to the book that couldn't have been added by just using violence instead, except it's a woman, so we have to add an attempted rape. It is exactly the type of scene where if you had put, say, Kel into the exact same situation, then it would not have progressed like that. But let's put in the trope anyway. As you can tell, I'm kind of salty about this scene. I really didn't like it, and I really don't think it needed to exist. And it only really came across as, ooh, this book is dark. Look at how dark this book is. Kel was quite an interesting character. I really enjoyed looking into kind of the mentality he has of being not a prisoner, but like an owned person by the royal family, yet they also include him in the family. I think he had some really interesting, like, internal thoughts on that. I also liked his smuggling business and really wish to see more of the smuggling business that we see him doing at the beginning of the book. But I do think he is given some lucky breaks in this book, and he kind of wins the day sometimes just because the book needs him to and needs to continue, and it is a little bit boring and dull when it happens, so I also like had some issues with that. Overall, this was a 3.5 star book. Like, it was decidedly average, and yeah, again, a giant disappointment to me in particular because I thought it would be better than this. But I am continuing on with this series, and I have started the second book and I'm enjoying it so far. So I will see how it goes, and hopefully it was just the series had a mediocre beginning and is going to have a fantastic ending. To round out my April wrap-up, we have Foundryside. And oh my God, was this book so good. And I binge read this in like less than a week, which is pretty quick for me. And I bought it right at the end of April and like was able to finish it in time to put it in this video. And granted, this video is going up like a week into May, but still, I got through this book so quickly because it was so good. Oh my gosh, I loved all of the characters in this so much. I struggle to remember and pronounce their names though, because I went through it so quickly. I have to go back and double check the actual names of characters, but I loved them. I loved that our main character, Sansia, she had the most horrifying backstory for a character. And you know what it didn't have? It didn't have sexual assault. And after my complaints of several other books in this wrap-up, I'm really, really pleased that we were able to get a female character who has had the most horrific life without it involving someone trying to rape her. And maybe that has happened sometime in Sansia's life and it just hasn't come up in this book yet, but I really appreciated that. And good God, was her backstory absolutely bone-chilling horrifying. I did have some confusion over what was going on with the plot and what was going on with the lore. And they intertwine so much as well. And I think that for part of it, you're meant to be confused because Sansi is confused or she's not really following what's going on yet with the higher echelons of society. But it got to a point where okay, I think I as the reader am meant to understand what's going on now. And I don't fully understand. I'm not fully following, but by God, am I loving the ride anyway. To give some backstory, Sansia is a thief who lives in Tavane. She does a job at the beginning of the book that involves stealing something from a safe. And what was in the safe was very powerful and sets off a lot of chain reactions going forwards of people trying to obtain it. She meets up with a crew of people and they get to do an awesome heist. It's great. And I love planned out heists. They're just so much fun to read. Probably why I love Six of Crows just so much. The magic in this was also a bit confusing. And I think this is where it was meant to be confusing because we've got a character who knows the very basics of the magic, but it's kind of like engineering where there's a whole lot of knowledge that goes into most of it. And our character, who we are following, does not understand that. So we, as readers, do not understand that, which I didn't understand, a lot of the, engineering part of the magic in this book. But I did really like it, and I liked how much it combined with technology. I thought that was really interesting. I understood the gist of it, largely because I'm so used to Brandon Sanderson's works and his workings on, Shadesmar and the cognitive realm and cognitive identities and just identity in general. All of these cosmere things helps me understand the basics of the magic in this book. And I still had trouble wrapping my head around some of the higher up stuff. But I am super excited for the second book of this. It is coming in the mail right now, and hopefully I will have it by the time this video goes out. But there is a buddy read happening for Shorefall in June, so maybe I'll hold off for that. It just depends on whether I can actually convince myself to hold off on this book that I really, really want to read. But I would really like to do more buddy reads, and this would be a great one to do one for. And that brings us to the end of the wrap-up portion of this video. Now let's move on to the TBR. After I've spent half an hour filming already on the wrap-up, I will see how much this breaks down when I actually edit it and how long it ends up being. And I don't know, maybe I'll split it into 2 parts, but I probably won't. I'll probably just keep it all together. The first book that I am reading in the month of May is the second Shades of Magic book, A Gathering of Shadows. I am again doing this as a buddy read with Chatty the Mad Chatter and Sylvan Princess, and I'm really looking forward to chatting with them more about this book. I have started this book and I am enjoying it so far, which is good considering my thoughts on the first one, but we'll see how it goes. I have heard not the best things about the second book in this series. So we will see whether it is something that I enjoy enough to continue on to the third book. And I think as long as I don't DNF the book, I will continue on because I've heard the third one is really good. But I have to get through this one first. And so far, so good. We'll go from there. But this is the second installment in Darker Shades of Magic. This again follows Kel, it follows Lila on their continued adventure after the end of the first story. I would tell you more about the plot of this book, except, spoilers, and also I don't know anything else about the book, except that it's a continuation of the story. The second book that I am going to read in the month of May is A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor, which you may remember I put on my TBR for April as well. And the thing is, I have actually started this book. I'm like over halfway through, but I haven't finished the book yet, so I have to finish it off in May. This is a very interesting book, and I don't know in what way I mean interesting exactly. It has been a bit weird. I've been told that it is like good and I should continue, so I will. It's just gone a bit weird in the middle, and we'll see how it goes at the end of this month when I do a wrap up for this book finally. Another book I've got slotted in for May is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. For those of you who are unaware, which is probably most people, because I put it on my personal Facebook and that was about it, I am part of a cosmere reread series known as Spanreads. It has just come out at the beginning of May. We are starting with the final Empire and continuing on to Era 2, so all of Mistborn is done just in time for the Lost Metal. This is being done over on the 17th Shard channel. I highly recommend people check it out. It was a lot of fun to film. We've been pre-filming all of this stuff for about a year now, and I'm the one who's editing it as well, so I've been doing a lot of editing for it, and overall it's just been a lot of fun doing these rereads and talking about them with friends and having videos that we can produce about the books that we are rereading. And that brings me to Warbreaker. We are going to be filming the Warbreaker reread soon. It's not coming out anytime soon. Sorry guys. It's like maybe next year that the Warbreaker one is coming out. But we're recording it soon, so I need to reread Warbreaker in preparation for that. Warbreaker follows two sisters, Vivenna and Ciri, as they both end up leaving their homes for the city of Hallandren for different purposes. Ciri is sent off to marry the God King, except Ciri was never the daughter who was raised for it. Vivenna, the older sister who was meant to marry the king, follows her sister to the city to try and save her. This is a great story about friendship. It's a great story about family and sisterly bonds. Well, my camera died for some reason. I think the battery ran out, even though it said it had a long time left on the battery, but oh well. Anyway, Brandon Sanderson, Warbreaker, has great magic about color, and it's got really good scientific definitions as well about the magic in this book, which I really, really liked. So I'm looking forward to reading this again. And again, don't forget to check out Spanreads over on the 17th Shard channel. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we had a blast, and we hope people really enjoy the episodes. The next book I want to read is Through Fathoms, Dark and Deep. This is the sequel to Over Raging Tides, and I am really keen to get back to it because I read the first book over a year ago and then didn't continue with the series. And now I've read the first book again, and I don't want to let the series linger, so I need to reread the first book a third time to then continue the series. I actually own these all physically now, which is really nice, and I think they have the most gorgeous cover art. Look at this. Look at how pretty this is. But this again follows Grace and Leo as their adventure continues from the first book. I can't really go into anything because the end of the first book is like a giant cliffhanger spoiler. So that really dictates the start of this book and where it goes. But I'm really looking forward to it. I look forward to more piracy. I look forward to learning more about Grace's past and how it plays into all of the present timeline and what's going on. I want to know more about these creatures, the Maudbury, who take on people's faces and also just swim around and eat people. It's going to be good. I'm really looking forward to this, and it is quite short, which is quite nice because I've got a couple of longer ones that I have to read, and it'd be nice to get to some shorter ones if I can. Speaking of shorter reads, I recently picked up The Bear and The Nightingale after hearing so many good things about it from so many people on booktube. and I'm really looking forward to reading this. This is set in Russian winter. Apparently it's very atmospheric. According to the back of this book, the main character's father brings home a new wife, and then a bunch of bad things start happening because they stop honoring the household spirits, and the entire village starts being affected. And our main character, Vasilisa, must call upon dangerous gifts she has concealed to protect her family from a threat sprung to life from her nurse's most frightening tale. So this sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. This is also a shorter read. It's not the shortest read on my list, but I'm looking forward to this and it should be good. The last book I have on my list for this month is Artificial Condition. It is the second book in the Murderbot series, and this seems to look a lot into Murderbot's past, which is very exciting, I think. I loved the first Murderbot book so much. I really connected with Murderbot as a character. I understood his anxiety so much and just really felt it myself reading the book. I felt the stress that he was feeling in some of those situations. And also I found him to be utterly hilarious. So the humor of these books really vibes with me. So I'm looking forward to this one, for it to be short, for it to be light, for it to be funny, and for it to be an all-round good time book. Also, just to note, the cover of this, like the dust jacket, has this really interesting texture on it, and I really like it. And under the dust jacket, there is actually, oops, I don't know if this will show up on camera. There's a little spaceship. How cute is that? That's just so cute. So we've got a little spaceship under our dust jacket, which is nice that it's not just, you know, plain and boring like most under dust jackets are. Well, that is everything, everybody. Thank you for joining me for this wrap up and this TBR video. These were going to be 2, but I had to take last week off because I lost my voice and got sick with not COVID. Everyone else around me got COVID, but I got something else, and I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling much better now, which is really nice. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. Let's have a chat about some of these books, or tell me, what did you read in April? What are you going to read in May? Let's have a discussion about it. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye!